Hello guys, welcome to this video. I'm going to have a look at the scripted campaigns in Tank Crew. There's two. There's Breaking Point and there's Last Chance. Breaking Point and Last Chance. First things first, I'd like to give my opinion on the artwork. I think the artwork is extremely amazing. This picture and this picture, they're extremely amazing. Look how good they are. This is an amazing image. If you look closely, you can see some battle damage on the turret just there. You got the smoke plumes, you got the sun in the hazy sky. You got the sparks, the grass, the tank, and then up here the same quality. These are both really high quality digital artworks. So I mean, I noticed that and I like them so much I thought I'd comment on that. And you can see a lot of action in this picture, this tank and this tank moving, and again the grass and everything, very high detail. These are artworks, they're not from the game. They're pretty close to what the game looks like, but they're even higher realism. And you know, that one captures motion and movement very well. So let's play a campaign. Let's play this one, Last Chance. So these are called campaigns. I haven't really done any campaigns before. I gave the IL-2 campaign a go once and I didn't play it very much, but let's have a look. My reading voice is quite bad. Nonetheless, I'm gonna try and read this. Sorry, I was just coughing there. So, sip of coffee. Last Chance. After the defeat of the Red Army near Kharkov in March 1943, and before the beginning of the Spring Thaw, there was a pause in fighting on the Soviet-German front that allowed the opposing forces to replenish their battle casualties and strategize for the summer campaign. A salient formed in the winter offensive near Kursk, which later became known as the Kursk salient, gave the Soviet command the opportunity to launch powerful strikes on the flanks of German forces near Belgorod and Kharkov, as well as Orel and Bryansk. Despite the overall superiority in manpower and firepower on March 12, 1943, Supreme Command Headquarters devised a deliberate large-scale defensive strategy for this section of the front line. On the same day, Adolf Hitler approved the plan for Operation Citadel, which proposed splitting the defense of the Voronezh and Central fronts, and then Army Groups South and Centre would encircle and destroy enemy forces with two pincer assaults from Belgorod and Orel towards Kursk. Alright, so just a picture here is shaping up that it's the lead up to the Battle of Kursk, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know what this campaign's about, so I'm learning as I go. Two pincer assaults from Belgorod and Orel towards Kursk. The main emphasis was on the offensive power of the Panzer and Panzer Grenadier divisions, which included improved medium tanks as well as new heavy tanks and self-propelled guns. The pivotal role in the upcoming offensive was to be played by Army Group South under Field Marshal Erich von Manstein. Upon striking at the Belgorod Tomarovka section, it had to force a breakthrough at the Prilipy-Oboyan border and joined forces with Army Group Centre east of Kursk. This included the 4th Panzer Army 52 Army Corps. I'm going to call that 58, and 2 Panzer Corps, correct me if I'm wrong. And the Army Detachment Kempf 2 Panzer Corps, 11 and 52 Army Corps, with support from 4th Air Fleet. German command were concerned that the enemy was aware of their plans and had time to accumulate strategic reserves, so it significantly adjusted the offensive plan for the 4th Panzer Army in May. Its main objective after breaking through the defence was to destroy the Soviet reserve tank forces. Colonel General Hermann Hoth, commander of the 4th Panzer Army, expected the 2 Panzer Corps under Paul Hauser to deal decisive damage near Prokhorovka station, which could shape the outcome of the entire operation. After repeated delays on July 1, 1943, the decision was taken at a meeting in Hitler's headquarters to launch the offensive on July 5th at 1600. On July 5th at 4 o'clock, 1600 on July the 4th, the 4th Panzer Army opened hostilities on the right flank of the Soviet 6 Guards, attacking their battle outpost. The command of the Voronezh front ordered counter-battery fire on a wide scale. It was carried out in 2 stages at 22:30, so at 10:30 p.m. and at 3 a.m., causing only minor losses to the Army Detachment Kempf. The German artillery opened fire at 3:30 a.m. and at 4 a.m. units of Army Group South launched a decisive attack. Wowee, so that's the lead up by the sounds of it to the Battle of Kursk, which seems to have centre of gravity seems to have been at the town of Prokhorovka. I could be totally wrong, but this is what I'm piecing together. There's a few things I know about this from history. 4th Air Fleet, I believe that was commanded by the Red Baron's cousin, Rick, also called Richthofen. So there's that. And yes, indeed, the Soviets knew everything about the attack. They knew when the Germans were going to attack. They knew where they were going to attack. They knew in what strength they were going to attack. They knew absolutely everything that was going to occur in the attack because of the Enigma decrypts that the Colossus computer at Bletchley Park had figured out. So Churchill had basically said to Stalin, Hitler's going to attack at Kursk at this time, at this place, with these numbers, and he told them, like, as soon as he knew. So I think the Soviets had about 6 months advance warning, something like that this attack was going to take place. So they had ample opportunity to build up huge reserves in front of the area where the Germans were going to attack. Okay, so there's one other thing I wanted to say. What was that? Oh yes, Hitler kept on delaying the attack so that he could get bigger tanks. I think he had some tanks in production and they were not ready yet. So Hitler wanted to attack earlier, but that early attack was contingent on having the big tanks ready, and so it took a while to get the big tanks produced. Once they were produced, they went into the attack. So that's the lead up to Battle of Kursk, by the sounds of it. That's pretty good. Let's continue. Hope that wasn't boring for you, but I found it pretty fascinating. And yes, I'm going to read most of this. Alright, so what do we got? This is last chance. We've got big plans, shaky balance, act decisively, approaching target, moment of truth, battle in the bend, threat from the rear, new assignment, steel ram, inglorious ending. So you got 10 probably chapters, I guess. I wonder how long each chapter goes for. Description, awards, begin anew. Big plans. The main strike of the German Fourth. Should I read the whole thing? Maybe not. I want to know what it says though, so I'm gonna kind of read some of it. Okay. Big plans. The main strike of the German 4th Panzer Army came down at dawn on July 5th, 1943. It was aimed at the positions held by the 6th Guards Army. I reckon that's 58. I'm going to go with 58. It's probably not. I could be totally wrong. The 58 Panzer Corps, I think it isn't. I think LI means 50, 51. I don't know. The XLVIII Panzer Corps advanced from, excuse me, from the Butovo-Cherkasy area along the road to Yakovlevo, and the 2 Panzer Corps made up of the Panzer Grenadier Divisions Leibstandart Adolf Hitler LAH, Das Reich and Totenkopf advance along Tomarovka, Bykovka, Yakovlevo Road. At the beginning of the operation, the 2 Panzer Corps had 390 tanks, 104 assault guns and 98 self-propelled guns, as well as combat forces of 39,106 men. The 238th Artillery Regiment and the 3rd Mortar Division were attached to the 2 Corps. Despite heavy resistance from the 52nd Guards Rifle Division, GRD, by the end of the day, units of the 2 Panzer Corps, supported by aviation of the 8th Air Corps, broke through the enemy's 1st defensive line and were facing the front of the 2nd defensive line in the Kozmo-Diamnovka area. Operating on the flanks, the XLVIII Panzer Corps and the Army Detachment Kempf were unable to make headway. According to the plan, by the evening of July 5th, the 4th Panzer Army should have breached both defensive lines, approaching the crossing near the Pesel River and continued on to Prokhorovka, so the entire schedule of the Operation Citadel collapsed in its very first hours. Oh no. Not surprisingly, given the build-up prior of Soviet defences in that region. We're talking tank ditches that tanks can't get through and things like that were built by people from villages in those regions, like huge anti-tank traps. So very effective defences. There's a few good documentaries on YouTube from History Channel and things like that about this. On July 6, the 2 Panzer Corps was ordered to breach the 2nd defensive line of the 6th Guards Army on the Yakovlevo-Lachki section. They were to attack the northeastern direction, destroying the Soviet mobile reserves. By 6 a.m, only Panzer Grenadier Division Totenkopf, which means Death's Head, had engaged in active combat at the line held by the 375th Rifle Division. It was not until 11 a.m. that, after half an hour of artillery barrage, the Corps' main forces joined the offensive. After breaking through the lines of the 51st GRD, a combat team from the Das Reich Division rushed to the Lachki-Kalinin-Kutor direction, while Panzer Grenadier Division LAH captured the southern part of Yakovlevo and continued its offensive on northern Lachki. By that time, the Soviet command decided to counterattack with all available reserves, namely the 1st Tank Army as well as the 2nd and 5th Guards Tank Corps, striking at the flanks of the Hussars Corps. And it seems we have an account here. It's in quotes. Let me have a sip of coffee. I apologise for my terrible reading style, but I do want to know what this says. So here's the account. I stuck my head out of my command hatch and watched as 4 Messerschmitts leapt northward, followed by 9 dive bombers. The Junkers circled and began to take turns nosediving and dropping their deadly load on targets as we couldn't see but that we knew were in the Russian position. Spurts of flame and plumes of smoke swept into the sky, shortly followed by the sound of explosions. The Stukas had finished their work and began to withdraw, when 2 flights of Focke-Wulfs arrived, attacking the enemy with equal ferocity. So they had FW-190s there. Interesting. Our aviation had been operating flawlessly that day, providing invaluable support to the division. We hardly saw any Russian planes that day. Suddenly, the radio came alive, and I immediately retired to the turret, pressed my headphones to my head, and tried to make the message out from the static. After our grenadiers had taken over Lachki, the 6th and 7th Panzer companies immediately moved on in the direction of Sabchevsky Kutor and were now reporting a clash with numerous Soviet tanks, asking for support. The battalion commander contacted us and ordered that our company, which was temporarily on standby, should prepare for immediate deployment. The short rest was over. Date, July the 6th, 1943. So Stalingrad started around July 1942, and so this is July 1943. So Stalingrad has just happened. The Axis failed at Stalingrad, and now we have Kursk, the world's largest ever tank battle, in July 1943, almost to the day, a year after Stalingrad had begun. Time 4 o'clock. Unit 2nd Panzer Regiment of the Panzer Grenadier Division Das Reich. Combat mission: the defeated enemy units are retreating northward, constantly trying to counterattack. The 5th Company is ordered to support the tanks of the 6th and 7th Companies fighting north of Lachki and then strike in the direction of Sabchevsky Kutor. Call sign of the commander of the 5th Company, Puma 1. Call sign of the commander of the 1st Platoon, Jaguar 1. Your call sign, Wolf 1. Additional instructions. You command the 2nd Platoon of the 5th Company of the 2nd Panzer Battalion. Follow the tanks of the 1st Platoon northward, following the orders of the company commander. You command the 2nd Platoon of the 5th Company of the 2nd Panzer Battalion. Follow the tanks of the 1st Platoon. Alright, so I'm going to follow some tanks, following the orders of company commander. Alright, so I wonder if I can just press start. What I might do is just check the chat. Again, I apologise for my terrible reading, but I just wanted to know what that said. G'day Aaron. Oh God, please let this hint at a IL-2 tank crew Kursk. I think that's what this is. I could be totally wrong, but I think Prokhorovka was like the epicenter of the Battle of Kursk. Tom Boras, any more tanks released? I don't know. I think they're gonna release the Panther, isn't it? I think the Panther's gonna get released at some point. Alright, let's click start and we'll see what happens. This is big plans on the last chance Axis scripted campaign. Thank you, man. No worries. No worries, Tom. There was a developer diary a while back, like maybe a month ago, and they showed some basic outline imagery of like 3D modeling imagery of a tank, of a new tank. And it was I'm no expert on tanks, but I identified it as a Panther, and it looked pretty awesome, I gotta say. I think it's one of my favourite tanks by how it looks. My understanding of the Battle of Kursk was basically the Germans had a bunch of awesome tanks, but most of the effectiveness of those tanks was immediately nullified, like neutralized by huge mile after mile after mile of huge ditches with I don't know, spikes and concrete and stuff, which were dug that the Germans weren't expecting, that their tanks just drove straight into. And there were pillboxes and machine guns and artillery and anti-tank guns all around those ditches. And we're talking like you have to drive your tank through maybe 30 or 40 kilometers of tank ditches, and each one of them has an anti-tank gun pointed at you. Like, it was just an impossible task. Very, very well defended, even if you're driving a Tiger tank. I saw it also, the IL-2 self-propelled gun for the Soviets. Yep. Though, thought they might sneak release them. Yeah, I wish. Maybe. Let's see. Alright, so here's the map. This is the southern end of the Prokhorovka region here. That's the town of Prokhorovka there. And we've got more stuff here. I think this is the same stuff that we'd read already. So, yeah, it is. Got a specification. PZKPFW4 Alfs G 75mm gun. June 1943. Nibelungen work. I think you start off in a really antiquated tank. Let's have a look. Yeah, it's one of the antiquated tanks, but it's got some extra additions on it, the extra armour. You can't change the fuel amount, it's locked. You can add whatever you want here. I don't know, I'll just try and go like that or something. Right, I think that's about it. So it looks like you're down here. Panzer Grenadier Division Das Reich. I apologise for my reading style and how long that took, but I just wanted to get to know that history of it before we started. Whoa, do we have a cutscene or something? I don't have any sound, but we got this kind of thing here. Aha, okay, that's pretty good. I have sound.
Hier Puma 1, Panzermarsch.
I think you can issue commands now to your tank platoon. Yeah, that's right. aircraft overhead, and lots of tanks. Pretty cool. So there's a bunch of FW-190. Alright, I'm going to get into a different position. I'll get into the commander's position. Thomas Lee, it looks fantastic. Yeah, I agree. It's very amazing. Very amazing.
Der Folge, hier Sturm. Schweres Artilleriefeuer aus der Gegend nördlich von Kozinska. Ich frage nach Luftunterstützung.
Go Falcon, this is Storm, heavy artillery fire. I ask for reinforcements.
Sturm, hier Gerfalke, verstanden. Die Gruppe nähert sich an.
Alright, so I've stopped pressing forward and I've given a command. It's not being followed, though I might try again. Movement, F3. F2, move straight. To crew, F3.
Fahrer, eingliedern. Fahrer, vorwärts, Marsch.
And he's not doing anything. I don't know if these are working or... And all of my guys have stopped there as well. Maybe I need to...
Hier ist 0-1 an alle. Eingliedern.
Alright.
0-1 an alle.
So I told the
Sturm,
platoon.
hier Puma 1. Position erreicht. Warten auf neue
The
Befehle.
platoon is moving on my orders, that's good. But what about my driver? He's not moving.
Puma 1, hier Sturm. Verteidigen Sie die rechte Flanke. Der Feind bereitet einen weiteren Gegenangriff vor. Fahrer, geplanten Weg fortsetzen.
Hier ist Falke 3. Greife an! Jäger! Nah!
Moving.
Hier ist Falke 3. Ziel zerstört! Hier ist Falke 2. Ziel zerstört! Habe Gelände aufklären und Bodenziel melden. Storch! Gelände aufklären und Bodenziele melden.
Fahrer, vorwärts, Marsch, Marsch.
Alright, I'm having some issues with the commands, that's for sure.
Hier Sturm. Ich sehe Panzer in Kompaniestärke. Auf 12 Uhr. Alles bereit machen.
Their support seemed to be heading towards some red aircraft in the sky. According to the icons that I could see, the aircraft labels. There's radio now. Yeah, there sure is. If you press forward then enter, you can lock the forward position for that driver. Let me try that. Oh wow. Yeah, this is a learning curve.
Richtschütze, Feindbekämpfung auf der Fahrt.
Just told the gunner to fire on the move. He's not firing on the move. So these guys are firing. We're at an airfield by the looks of it. I just got hit. Incoming fire from somewhere. It's the gunner's firing. Oh shit. Very, very poor crew coordination on my part. Someone got a direct hit. G'day skids, welcome. Z and C to change the gears. That's good to know. Alright, wow. I'm going to finish that one. And I'm going to go to braking point. I'm going to read this one too. So here we go. Breaking point. After the defeat of the Red Army near Kharkov in March 1943, and before the beginning of the Spring Thaw, there was a pause in fighting on the Soviet-German front that allowed the opposing forces to replenish their casualties and strategize for the summer campaign. Is this the exact same thing? This is the same thing. Alright, it's the same. Difficult start. So we've got 10 chapters. See all the tanks in a village with the trucks. Difficult start, counterattack in the first wave on the left flank, doing the impossible, key point, raiding rear units. Second attempt, the noose is tightening the last barrier. Difficult start, so this is chapter 1. At dawn on July 5th, 1943, the German 4th Panzer Army PA launched its main attack on the positions of the 6th Guards Army. Despite stubborn resistance from the troops, the 52nd Guards Rifle Division GRD, by the end of the day, the formations of the German 2nd Paul-Hauser Panzer Corps broke through the first defensive line of the 6th GA Guards Army and reached the perimeter of the second defensive line near Kosmo Dimiankov Dimianovka with the support of the 8th Air Corps. The 22nd Guards Rifle Corps, GRC, was defending the flanks alongside the 375th Rifle Division and managed to keep the enemy from breaking through the first line. After determining the direction of the main attack, by the end of July 5th, the VF command was forced to push almost all of its operating reserves to the front line, consisting of the 1st Tank Army, 1 Rifle Corps and 2 Tank Corps, as well as artillery formations. Unable to further influence the situation, General Vatutin requested that the Supreme Command Headquarters strengthen the front line with strategic reserves. The 1st Tank Army, led by Lieutenant General M.E. Katukov, secured the Obayan axis and was supposed to defend the Melivo-Yakovlevo section. The 2nd Tatsinsky Guards Tank Corps, led by Colonel A.S. Berdeny, was tasked with covering Gostishevo, and the 5th Stalingradsky Guard Tank Corps, led by Major General A.G. Kravchenko, had to cover the Prokhorovka axis. On July 6 at 5 a.m, the 5th Guards Tank Corps, including the 20th, 21st and 22nd Guards Tank Brigade, GTB, the 6th Guards Motorized Rifle Brigade, GMRB, and the 48th Heavy Assault Regiment near the Ozarovsky Khutor Kozinka Oroshishe Teterevino line. That calls for a sip of coffee. Combat operations began at dawn on July 6 on the sections of the 375th Rifle Division and the 22nd GRC, and it was not until 11 that the main forces of the German 2 Panzer Corps launched an offensive. After receiving a report that there had been a breakthrough in the positions of the 51st GRD defending the 2nd Army line, General Vatutin issued the order to counterattack with the forces of the 1st TA 2nd and 5th Guards Tank Corps, GTC, on the flanks of the enemy's tank spearhead. At the same time, Panzer Grenadier Division Das Reich, pursuing the units of the 51st GRD and the 5th GTC that had been pushed out of Luchki, attacked in the direction of Ozarovsky Khutor and in the direction of Sabachevsky Khutor Kalinin Khutor. The frontal counterattack carried out by the forces of the 22nd GTB was unsuccessful, and by 4:30 p.m. on the 21st and the 22nd GTB, and by 16:30 the 21st and 22nd GTB, as well as the 48th Guards Heavy Assault Tank Regiment, were surrounded near Kozinka Urashishe. And here's a quote. Waiting was exhausting. After a long night march, our 20th Guards Tank Brigade took up defensive positions in Teterevino, waiting for the enemy to attack in the morning. However, the German soldiers were clearly not in a hurry and only launched their offensive at about midday and somewhat away from our positions. The main forces of the Corps had been fighting for a long time, and judging by the abrupt and panicky radio messages, their situation was extremely difficult. We continued to wait while our comrades were fighting and dying somewhere else. The order to advance was only received from the Corps commander at about 1700. I arrived at the brigade in late 1942 as junior lieutenant when it was being reconstructed in the Tambov tank camps. If it hadn't been for my experienced crew who had already experienced the smell of powder at Stalingrad, I would have hardly survived the subsequent events. In the grueling battles of Gorsheshnoye and Katstornoye near Voronezh in January 1943, the brigade lost almost all its equipment in just 7 days, and the commanders of both the tanks and the motorized rifle battalions were killed. In February, our forces were replenished again, but after an unsuccessful battle near Kharkov in late March, the brigade was finally taken out for restructuring. In early summer, I was given command of a platoon, and now I had to lead men who were just boys yesterday in their first battle and take full responsibility for them. Date, July 6, 1943, time 17:30, formation 20th GTB of the 5th GTC. Combat mission: after breaching the defence of the 51st GRD, the enemy strikes in the direction of Kalinin Kutor, Belenikino Station. The order was given to advance the 45th and 250th Tank Battalions to the forest north of Sabachevsky Kutor, leaving one tank command in Teteravino, thereby preventing the enemy from spreading in the direction of Belenikino. Call sign of the battalion commander Badger 1. Call sign of the company commander Wolf 1. Your call sign Wolf 8. Additional instructions: you command the 3rd platoon of the 1st company of the 250th Tank Battalion. Follow battalion commander in the northwest direction to Sabachevsky Kutor, following all orders. Follow the battalion commander in the northwest direction. Alright, let's get started. Skid says, I've got all those campaigns and haven't even finished one. Yeah, I didn't really play them much myself, but that's mostly because I design a lot of missions myself. But if you're not into mission designing, or even if you are, it's a good resource. Stefan says, how do you control the tank keyboard and mouse joystick? I'm using the keyboard. Yesterday I tried out a tank with the joystick and it seemed to work for steering, so tried to play the game a few times, but the control doesn't work for me. The mouse is sometimes not able to turn the turret around. Yeah, no, I was able to use the mouse okay to turn the turret. Let's have a look. I think they've updated the turret control actually as of this update. It's taking a while to load up. Hopefully it's not going to crash or anything. Nope, there we go. So we're in the same region here in the southern corner of this detailed area. That's Prokhorovka there. Can't adjust the fuel. You got some stuff here. Skid says twist joystick works for me and the throttle works too. Cool, let's try that as well. I'm guessing we get a cutscene in a minute. Yep, there it is. Wow, look at this line of tanks. Ginormous.
Я Барсук-1. Всем за мной.
This is the gunner's seat. This is the... Where does the... Hey, where's the other crew member? Where does the commander sit in this tank? Is the commander the gunner as well? Kind of discombobulating. It's time to get moving.
Командир, слева танки противника.
They need some subtitles.
Я Барсук-1. Всем, огонь не открывать. Продолжать движение.
Very realistic sounding. I think by 1943 most of these T-34 style tanks would have had a radio in them. I don't think they would have had them in like initially in the war, but around 43 I'm sure they did. T-34's commanders as gunners as well, mate. Ah, I see. Going along pretty fast. There's a few half tracks destroyed. And looks good, but controls really strange. Develop tank variant simulation without considering proper option to control the tank. I've got a joystick and it was working
Внимание,
yesterday
воздух!
without any kind of special.
Я Вепрь-1, прием.
Actually,
Ставлю новую
I might
задачу.
have got,
Барсук-1, отразить атаку противника.
might-
Сурок-1, продолжать
I might have gone
движение
into
и
the
занять
key
оборону у Беленихина.
assignments and made the joystick one of the driving controls. I think I did that at one point about it, half a year ago or something. I vaguely remember that. Yeah, they had a lot of tanks, but no radio inside, plus bad tank crews. I don't think there was any training for these, and I think they're pretty.
Я Барсук-1. Батальон, занимаем исходные позиции на южной окраине Калинина и ждем дальнейших указаний.
I think by 1945 they had really good equipment on par with the best that the Germans had. But in the beginning, of course, their equipment was really subpar. I think they started off with quantity but no quality, and I think at the end of the war they had both quantity and quite a lot of quality as well. The manufacturing improved and that sort of thing. My tank's going along by itself without me having to press the forward button. That's interesting. A lot of the radios, boots and trains were supplied by the US. Yeah, that's for sure, the Lend-Lease program. A lot of Shermans and Kitty Hawks and 50,000 trucks and all of this. Lots of stuff. Food, a lot of grain. I'm just barreling on into this smoke. What we got up here? That's a 110. Oh shit!
Я Барсук-1. Батальон. Начало атаки по команде.
There's a Russian. There's a house. Let's go over that. Boom. Very good. Let's keep going. There's some dead T-34s. pretty smoky. I've probably advanced a bit too much, eh? Better watch out. I think that artillery piece was not German. Okay, so... Does the 1080 Ti S-Line makes a difference compared to a single card in IL-2? You can use both, so probably yes. Lucky I didn't run those over. Gee, that was a bit of a run, wasn't it? But we got aircraft incoming. We got enemies to the south, if I'm reading that correctly. So there's the goal there, 500 metres away. There's some 110s. Run over someone's outhouse right now. Damn, that had a negative effect on the tank, I think. There's some enemies up there at 2 kilometres away. The target for airfield. Don't know. Here's the first waypoint. And here's the second waypoint. Should I go to it? It looks like the action's over here. I've given an order to my platoon to do like me. And we're heading over here where there's some enemies. I think there's a lot of heavy metal in this area. Got to be 20 tanks on either side. I can't see my crew. the crew is missing. Oh no, guys, oh no. Extinguisher. The driver's the only one that's alive. The other guys are dead. I can't change into a different position. Maybe I should try and open the hatch. Well, I think that is, that's that. You could see your crew. I think it's just, I don't know, just a glitch. Cool. Alright, I'm pretty much going to conclude it right there. That's like an intro for both of them, I guess. There is also a career mode for Battle of Bodenplatte. I'm going to have a look at that. I'm going to pause it here briefly and I'm going to be back in about 30 seconds, so stay tuned.
Я Барсук-1. Батальон, вперед!
Hello guys, back again. Sorry about that pause. Okay, so this is the... what is this? This is the career mode. Gonna have a quick look at the career mode for Battle of Bodenplatte. So I'll pick USA. At a glance, P38, P47 and the P51's grayed out. There's a bunch of different units. Also, these are all be squadrons, I'd say. You can choose 4 in the beginning by the looks of it. Let's choose one of these somehow. I'm not going to read all the text, but this is like personal backstory to the character. his hero's Rickenbacker, Eddie Rickenbacker, the World War One fighter pilot. So yeah, you've got a backstory there to the character. Let's go. Oh, cool. Welcome to the 401st Flight School Flight Officer. Since this is your first day here, take some time to study the personnel roster. Familiarise yourself with how things work around here. When you're ready to get started, click Next Day to continue. A new day begins. G'day Frag. Tank crew is interesting, but I just can't get into it as much as planes. They're not exactly fast, action-packed things as most tanks of the era could do, 20 miles per hour. Yeah, they're a bit different creatures, that's for sure. Skids, I'm having trouble flying that P-38 with the flight yoke. Can get a beat on target like other fighters. Combined with the combined arms aspect is neat, as tanks you're attacking could be real players. There's a lot of potential in tanks. Particularly when I look at things like Battlefield 5, some of the tank gameplay in that combined with the army personnel and everything else is just insane. As in really good. Start mission. I'm just waiting for this to load. For me, the best kind of boots on the ground style combat that I've done so far is in Battlefield 5. I mean, there's plenty of good shoot 'em ups, like all the Wolfensteins are great. But then like combined arms type thing, like coordinated tanks, planes, infantry, with a focus on infantry that can operate tanks, artillery, everything like that. That'd have to be Battlefield 5. Also Call of Duty. And what was the other one? I've not played it, but I think Postscriptum's pretty good as well. Alright, so we're in a P-38. Got a formation here. So we're here, we're going to go up here, down here, down here. Carrying a couple of bombs. In a formation with 3 other ships. So I gather we're going to bomb something. So this is Bodenplatte, so we could get jumped by the Luftwaffe at any time. would also be cool if we could get even rudimentary CPU-controlled infantry with the boss. The boss battlefield does look a bit empty with just vehicles. Yeah, I agree. They kind of got infantry walking around the infrastructure, which is somewhat effective, and they've got infantry manning MG34s and 50 cals and things like that, but not as soldiers. There'd have to be hundreds to see them from the air. Yeah, I mean, on the Eastern Front, the amount of troops on the ground was in the millions. Millions and millions of troops on the ground. So, yeah. Like think of a big number of people, like all of the people in the stadium at the Super Bowl, and then times it by 20, and then put them all on the ground with guns. That's the Eastern Front. That's actually probably about 5% of the Eastern Front. Eastern Front is bigger than most people can imagine. I think the reason why I never myself really got into career mode and scripted campaigns is I'd often fly for a long time, like it seemed like, I don't know, a long time, 25 minutes, and not necessarily get much action. But in a way that's the same as multiplayer, because sometimes with multiplayer I'll fly for 45 minutes and not see another aircraft. Bit of smoke in that town down. I'm assuming this is in summertime. In the first 2 hours of the Battle of the Somme, World War I, 60 British troops were slaughtered, and then they sent out another 2 waves of men at a football stadium full of men in one go. Yeah, exactly. The numbers are staggering. $60,000 troops. Yeah, no, I get you. If anyone survived World War One, it was that was in it. It's a miracle, like a lottery ticket kind of situation, like a 1 in a million chance kind of thing. Maybe not 1 in a million, but basically, if you were in the trenches, chances are you'd last maybe a couple of weeks rather than survive it all. So, been flying for a while. Where might the target be? I assume that that's the target there. 67 degrees, 3,281 feet, 46 miles, 240 miles per hour, 11 minutes. It's just a waypoint maybe, I don't know. Yeah, there's a movie. Who's the director? I think it's Peter Jackson. The director Peter Jackson is involved in it. I've been meaning to watch it. It's on YouTube right now. It's colorized, speed adjusted, and lip read footage from World War One. So they got. I don't want to get this wrong, but I think they got lip readers in to read what the troops in the footage were saying from World War One, and you can see them pretty much like it was today, because it's colorized and it's run at the correct speed and that sort of thing. And they've got maybe some audio, or at least some text or some explanation of what they're discussing in the footage. And I'm actually intending to watch that. Those P-38 engines sound pretty awesome. Yeah, the battles in World War One were pretty damn fierce. I actually lost 2 family members in World War One that I know of. What are these guys doing? Are they dropping? I think they're dropping. So I'm going to drop.
Roughlin 3, engaging fighter to the east. Range half mile out. Roughman 2, engaging fighter to the east. Range half mile out. Southwest. Range half mile. Out. Engaging fighter to the south. Range half mile. Out. Roughman 2, engaging fighter. It's close. Out.
Love the radio calls. This is pretty good. I could probably get into it, particularly if I didn't have an internet connection and I needed something absorbing and engaging to play. This would be really good. Love the radio. Was that a G14 or G6 or something? Got him front. G14. The G14, from what I understand, is a G6 that's been standardized. So lucky for me it wasn't a K4. If it was a K4 I would have been screwed. Alright, so what do we do now? We were supposed to drop some bombs, then the formation totally scattered. We got jumped. And now... So you hit I and then it gives you a waypoint. And also there's an G4. So I got a waypoint there, 24 k's. So yeah, this is really good. This is really good. I'm flying a P-38 Lightning against a Messerschmitt Bf-109 G14. The AI plane has a name, Kurt Fisher. That's a good touch. I'm out of ammo. The bad thing is, now that I'm out of ammo, I can pretty much hit him right now because he's 200 meters away. Bam, just like that. It's always the way. That's the one, frag. They shall not grow old. Yeah, that's the name of it. I'd forgotten the name. That's it. Shows a lot of non-combat stuff. Yeah. Real footage of the Christmas ceasefire playing football was pretty emotional stuff. Holy crap. Wish IL-2 had their own teams. Showdown count, dude. Yeah, so I'll probably call it a day with this vid, I think. Got one on my tail, I think. The thing that I'm trying to figure out is that now that we've been jumped, where's the rest of my squadron? And I guess they're... Where's the rest of my squadron, and how do we reform and continue on with the group, with the flight? That's okay, so you've got waypoints. I'll just follow the waypoint and go from there. Let's just continue on for another 5 minutes. Yeah, I had two ancestors that fought that I know of in World War I. One of them made it all the way through Gallipoli, and then both of them ended up in France, and within a couple of weeks of being in France, they were both dead. Such was the ferocity of the fighting. It was pretty hardcore at Gallipoli as well, although one of my ancestors that was there, he survived it somehow, but then went to France and within a couple of weeks there was dead. There's a P-38's gone down. BF-109 shot him down. There's another 38. I can't really do much, I haven't got any ammo. Here's the thing. Where's my waypoint? There it is there. I'm going to head for it. Definitely try and spare my ammo. That's the thing with these flights, is you never know how many times you're going to get jumped, when or where, so keeping some ammo spare is pretty well crucial, but you need to use enough ammo in the exchange that you're in order to survive to get to the next exchange, if there is one. You have to get through the combat that you're in, and that requires ammo. So it's like an exercise in rationing your own ammo. It's really realistic in that sense. Yeah, I'm digging this. This is cool, particularly if you don't have an internet connection and you can't do multiplayer, or if you don't want to do multiplayer. This is pretty good. Alright, so it helps to have these inverted teardrop markers. So that one's 70 kilometers away. It's about 50 miles away, and so I'll just head. It's probably this one here. Yeah, it is. It is. Alright, and up we are here. 2 enemies, 2 allies. Well guys, this is pretty good. I definitely approve of this. This is awesome. I think a large part of it is just figuring out how to operate in career mode. Like knowing about the waypoints and stuff like that. I think that's one of the main things. Someone said to me the other day that if you put it into autopilot, it'll fly you to the waypoint, and autopilot is A, so I'm going to test that out. So I'm heading off over here, and I'm going to press A for autopilot, and it should head me to my waypoint. So I pressed A, nothing happened. I also couldn't put it into auto level. I think you need to be at a decent altitude before it'll... Like, okay, auto level works. Now I'll try auto... not working. Don't know. Okay, so that... I don't think it's a fail, but something's not working. There's some allied vehicles on the ground. What have we got down there? Gun position. Yeah, so the tilde commands in this seem to be the same, like as in seem to be just regular. Nothing's been... Worth checking out, though, of course. Shift A, yeah, Shift A for me is auto level, and usually if I just press A, it activates the autopilot. Not to worry. I believe that that is correct, like that you press autopilot and it'll take you to your next waypoint. But just it's not working in this instance. But that's cool. It's in the same category of things, I think, as how I couldn't see the crew in the tank. But I know that if I tried it again, I would see the crew. You know, so just a glitch, I think. There is an option that your aircraft will do the mission for you. Aha. I'd like to know how to activate. This plane is worth the expansion alone, in my opinion, says Aaron. Yeah, I agree. The P-38, I mean, to get to fly a P-38 in this kind of detail is very special. Very, very special. I think it's just me. I don't think my buddy survived that encounter with the G14. There's a G14 behind me. I don't think he can catch me though. He's braking. And you can see you've got the yellow hollow arrow that points to the next waypoint. That's really useful. So these career missions, they're pretty user friendly in a way, I think. And I'm not that good at them or anything like this. I hardly ever do them. And this is like one of the first ones I've ever done. It's the first Bodenplatte one I've ever done. And I'm kind of picking it up already. How you've got to fly to the waypoints and conserve your ammo and fly in a formation and that sort of thing. So yeah, it's pretty awesome. It's pretty good. There's the new detail clouds. And I just realised that your icon says your character's name. So that's pretty awesome as well. So the AI is no longer AI, it has a name, and of course the character has a name. So again, small touches like that make it more immersive. You can turn the markers off. Yeah, I know. Usually I fly it without markers, so I'm trying out flying with them on. Just turn the lights on. I reckon the P-38 is a pretty space age, steampunk space age looking kind of a cockpit. Pretty awesome. Even got a performance chart on the control column there, giving some kind of some limits. I think it's dive speed limits or something. Alright, so I'm nearly at this waypoint. When I get to it, the next teardrop mark will show off up over here. Let's have a look for that. So getting up to the waypoint, the next one's going to appear in the sky over there. 3 k's away. Get ready. I did not expect that. I just went to that waypoint. I'm expecting to see the next one up there. It's still showing me that waypoint. Why is that? Do you have to fly exactly to it? I don't think so. I'll fly directly through it and see if that makes a difference. And then if it works, it will trigger off the next one, which you'll see behind me. Didn't work. What the devil? Oh, okay, maybe I'm supposed to... Nah. I don't get it. I don't get it. Alright, see how it disappeared? That time I overflew the waypoint, so maybe you got to overfly it, like as in be above its altitude. I think the waypoint of each altitude is 3,000 feet, so maybe that's the key to it. You've got to be above the waypoint, perhaps. So anyways, it's turned off and it's gone to there. So that's potentially some valuable detail for you there, that you might need to overfly the waypoint instead of being on it or below it, or either side of it. So the next one, pretty fast plane. Where's the landing point? I expect that, yeah, okay, so yeah, there's the landing point there. They don't require you to fly to there and then to there, you just fly to there. So I'll finish off the mission. It's probably probably not going to take too long. The plane's barreling along at a great rate of knots. 12th Army Group, US 9th Air Force. I'm pretty impressed by this, guys. I think this is really, really useful. It's good to have all of the different ingredients compiled together to make something really coherent like this. Because you don't just have a sim, like where you fly a plane, you also have something to do that's story driven, story orientated. Pretty useful. And I reckon you'd have a pretty good incentive to stay alive in each of these career mode missions. I assume if you get, I don't know, if you get shot down in career mode, is that it? I think they'd probably let you try again. If they did, I think I'd have to start 100 careers because I'd keep on getting shot down. That's one fast aircraft. So P-38 versus ME-262 is possible. I mean, it's definitely possible in like a quick mission for sure. In this career mode, I don't know. I'm an expert on World War II, but there's so much about World War II, like the history, chronology, the sequence that I'm oblivious to. Like, for example, when did they stop using the P-47 and the P-38 and just focus on using the P-51? And when did the 262 come in, and did the 262 ever fight the P-38 and the P-47? Because even if they stopped using the P-38 in Europe, at some point they still used it in the Pacific, and even when they stopped using it as a fighter in Europe, I bet you they still used the P-38 as a ground attacker, or there would have been some purpose for it that they needed an aircraft like this for. I've noticed the P-38 on landing on final approach, it has a tendency to float along and not really lose much speed. So there's that. I've also noticed that you can nose over and go straight into the ground if you deploy the flaps too aggressively. Like the flaps will kind of like grab the plane and tilt it nose down if you deploy them, not in slow stages. So that there's also that. 20 kilometers away. It's probably about a minute away. You can see the runway there. Three runway. Thomas says P-47 was the first plane to shoot down a 262. Oh, okay. Wow. How about that, eh? I know actually from... Yeah, I know that when when fighters of the US 8th Air Force or whatever, when they stopped really escorting B-17s predominantly because they had nothing to do, there was nothing up there to intercept, they started to look for targets on the ground, and I think they started attacking, I know they started attacking Luftwaffe airfields, like fighter airfields, and shooting up any airfields and anything on the airfields that they could find. And I assume that, yeah, that 47s and 38s and 51s were all involved in that. So there's a blue inverted tier that shows for landing, and it seems to give an actual runway. It's on the threshold of that runway there, and it's got a T, a white T. I think those things signify that that's the place to land. So I'll do that. I have no idea what my speed is because it's hidden behind the control column. 180 miles, 170 miles an hour.
Cleared to land. Out. Rough 4. Copy.
Bloody hell, there's a tree on final approach.
Mayflower, this is Rough May 4. Landed. Over. Clear the runway. Out. Rough May 4. Roger.
I just tried adjusting the radio volume. It seems to work well. It's left, out, and plus or minus on the numpad. Let's try. Did you see that? So that's a new feature. That's really... Alright, now that I've turned the engines off, what's it going to say? Maybe if, can I end them? I was kind of expecting it to turn the landing icon off and it'd give me a message saying you can end the mission or something like that. Don't know if I'm doing it wrong. Mission accomplished. 40 minutes worth of flying 2 planes, etc, etc. Got a DFC on the first flight. That's pretty good going. Awesome. So that's the end of the first mission. The next one, 401st FS, enemy railway junction attack, mission in progress. So basically, I won't do the next mission, but that was just good to try out one mission there. The jet overshot the jug and he opened up. I think there's footage of it on YouTube. Oh wow, that's amazing. That strafing also kept US fighter casualties up. Hope they do bombers sometime, 24s especially. B-24s, yeah, that'd be pretty awesome. I think the B-25 will become player flyable at some point. I hope it will. Free hunts would be cool to be able to add more ground targets on the Bodenplatte map. Barns full of ammo, cars full of Rommel, etc. That's right. When Rommel was on his way back from the wall, what do you call it, the west wall, his car crashed when it was being strafed by Allied aircraft, and they didn't wear seat belts in those days, so it was a bad thing for Rommel, and it didn't get any better after that. Anyways, on that note, that's the end of that. So that's been a look at tank crew and a look at, what was this? This was career mode. Career mode. What do you call it? Career mode, I guess. So we've had a look at tank crew campaigns and we've had a look at career mode. So I'm really impressed. It's all really awesome, and I'll be doing some of these again because they're great. Particularly the tank crew, starting off with that, it was very amazing seeing all of those tanks and aircraft and stuff, and the battle and everything. Pretty awesome. Yeah. Guys in the chat, thanks very much for coming along for the adventure, and everyone watching at home and everything, and thanks for participating in the chat. The usual stuff: like, share, subscribe, smash the bell icon. Check out my website, froggyfrog9000.com. You can support my efforts on Patreon or by joining the channel on YouTube. Free to cancel anytime. This is the Froggy Frog 9000 channel. Join me again tomorrow for another live stream, and enjoy your weekend, and bye for now. Cheers.